You're listening to the podcast of Rain City Church.
All right. So today is a really fun day because we have our team that just got back from Colombia just a couple of weeks ago that is going to come and share. You guys, you don't clap for them, they clap for themselves. They're back there clapping. We have our team from Colombia here is about to share. Oh, man. Wow. So genuine. It's so incredible to see what God is doing both here in our community and around the world. If you're kind of new around here, a really big value of ours, one of our core values, is that we value family over corporation. And for us, that means that when we build God's kingdom, that we are much more interested in trying to build up people. That truly is God's kingdom and God's church, rather than we're trying to build cool buildings. And so several years ago, we've been able to afford a building for several years, but we as a church decided years ago to put that off because we want to continue to be extraordinarily generous, radically generous, and be able to make a difference around the world and right here in our community. And you guys are doing that in an incredible way. And so today, as you're hearing from the team, I just want you to hear about what you guys have been able to do, that your generosity, your faithfulness, your service is literally changing lives right here in this church, right here in this community, and around the world. So guys, would you please give a very warm welcome to our Colombia team.
And we totally clap for ourselves, too, up here. We're like, yes, we're so great. So good morning, you guys. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I was chastised by my daughter this morning for not wearing green, so I hope you all are. I'm Marisa. I am the Missions and Mobilization Pastor here at Rain City Church, and this is the team that just returned from Bogota, Colombia. Is my mic? Am I having issues? Sorry. I'm pretty challenged here. How's that? Better? Okay. Perfect. We're moving over. We were able to go as a group with All God's Children International, which is our Rain City Orphan Care partner that we've been partnering with for years. Quick backstory on how we figured out who they were. You may already know this if you've been going here for a while, but Jesse, who is just up here, is my husband, and we adopted our daughter from Ethiopia back in 2012, and we went through All God's Children, or AGCI, we'll shorten it, and after having that experience, walking through the process, going to Ethiopia, seeing the work that they were doing there, we walked away and we knew in that moment that we needed to dedicate our entire life to really helping kids around the world that don't have families. We didn't know what it would look like at the time, but we walked away with that burden on our hearts. After years of really only facilitating adoptions from countries all over the world and through our foster care system, AGCI really looked into the heart of the issue and has recently expanded to include a more holistic approach through intervention, through family preservation, and they're really making an incredible impact around the world. They work in 9 countries right now, and their primary goal is really unique and special because it's really to keep a family intact. So it isn't necessarily to get a child adopted. It's to find family support through a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle and keep them in their home country. And then if all else fails at that point, that's when they open it up to the adoption side of what they do. They just really firmly believe that children belong in families, and we really resonated with that as a couple and as a church. So we have been dedicating our year-end giving, our Rainmakers Fund. We've been dedicating a lot of the money that we raise every year for projects with AGCI. But this last year, I took on a new role, this job as a missions pastor, and we decided to actually go and see the projects that we've been funding all these years. And we always hear amazing stories, and it's so cool, but these are real people, and we wanted to see them and meet them. And so last year, I was able to go to Colombia with a small team, like end of May, early June. And then I took a team to Ethiopia in October and saw the projects we've been funding there for years. It was so powerful. And then I just got to bring another crew with me, obviously. This is our largest team to date, and they were a fun one, let me tell you that much. So I'm going to introduce you really quickly to everyone. We had Markella, who actually works here at the church with our youth. She is not here today, so she was the first one I'll mention. And then we have Scott down there, and Haley, and Summer, and Kathy. And you can totally clap for them, because, I mean, they're not just pretty faces up here. I mean, come on. And then, thank you. And then we have Emily, and then this is Gabriel from AGCI. So, hi, Gabe. And then we have Christina and Angelica down here. We also had somebody else on the team that met us from California, so if you see pictures of someone else that you're like, who's that? That's who she was. So I'm just going to hand it over to Gabe.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Gabe, and I'm honestly so privileged to be here. I lead a lot of teams to Colombia, and Rain City, like, by far is my favorite team every time. So this is actually my third time down, and I just want to say we have a lot of church partnerships, but Rain City is really leading the way in what we're doing. When I talk to other pastors, I really give them the model of what Rain City is doing to replicate. And so I'm just so privileged to be here. It was an emotional trip for me, just being with this group and seeing them and tying them to the mission. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart. My family loves Rain City too. My kids talk about Rain City. They're like, you're with Rain City again. And I'm like, yes, because I love them. So I just want to say thank you. We love you guys. AGCI is just so thankful to have a partner in you.
So basically, today what we're sharing, we're going to throw out some different terms. We fire hose our team with information when we get to Colombia. It's a quick-moving trip, and I'm going to fire hose you with some information right now, just what terms mean, and I have a slide up here, so it'll be easy. So AGCI, first of all, that's all God's children. We have all these crazy terms. Then we've got ICBF. That is basically like our CPS here. So they're a government-run organization working in orphanages or institutions. Institutions are, like I said, it's an orphanage institution. Those are government-run. We also visited a place called Los Pasingos while we were there. They're a privately funded and AGCI-supported organization that really works specifically in family preservation. So they're doing a lot of therapies with kids. They're doing parenting classes so parents can learn better ways to work with their children and keep families together. We also visited a really unique place called La Casa. It is actually an orphanage, but is privately run and AGCI funded, and is kind of the place that everyone else looks to for their excellent model of care that they're providing the kids. We also visited what we've talked about a lot in the last year, the Dream Home. That is government funded and AGCI supported. A lot of you guys out there support the Dream Home because we told you about it last time and you guys are crazy. But that provides a home for young women in Colombia that have aged out of the system. They're no longer adoptable. And they're also like superstar women. They're these amazing young women who are so strong, so determined, and have had really literally everything stacked against them. And they have persevered. They're going to college, and they literally have nothing. They're like studying in bathrooms to make things work. They don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have things everybody else has. And so that place was built really as a sanctuary for these girls that have been working so hard to become something new and something better and break the cycle. And then we also talked a little bit about caregiver training, and what that is something that AGCI just did in the country of Colombia, where they sat down with caregivers, they sat down with people in the education system and the judicial system, and they taught people about kids that have gone through trauma. So it really informs all decisions that are made throughout the government, laws that are passed, everything. It was really powerful. They ended up, they expected 250 people for the caregiver training, and it was opened up to everyone, and they had, I think, like 1,400 people that came to it. It was really amazing. So we got to be there right after the caregiver training, and they were like thanking us, like, thank you for the training. We're like, yes, you're welcome. And it was really AGCI, but it was such a cool thing to be a part of and see. So I'd love for a couple of people from our team, we obviously won't all share today, but I'd love for a couple of them to share really with you. And the first one's going to be Emily. She has been on staff here at Rain City. She's a pastor here. She's been with us for a couple years, and she has really dedicated so much of her life to also serving AGCI. And so when this came up, she wanted the opportunity to go and see one of our projects here. And we ended up getting a lot of this on camera, and we'll be showing you a video in a few minutes of just kind of the work that we did. But would you be able to share just a little bit about your experience with ICBF and at the institutions, and then maybe why we work with AGCI and what they're doing on that level and why it's so important?
Hello. As Marisa said, I've been on staff for 2 years now with Rain City, and I've had the privilege of hearing the heart of our staff who get to go on these trips or who personally have been impacted by these organizations. And it's amazing to hear the stories, but you kind of need to go and see for yourself. And so that was why I chose to go on this trip, and it was a fast trip. We got a lot of stuff done in the 3 days. We were bouncing from institution to orphanage to ICBF, but it was great. We had some really meaningful conversations with people. We saw some heartbreaking things, but the one thing that I did get to see is just how valuable our partnership with AGCI is, and then how that streams into Colombia. And so our partnership with AGCI has been awesome. Working with Gabriel was so great down there. And one of the things that I really took to heart is that every place that we left and every conversation that ended, Gabriel told whoever was the person running the orphanage or the institution, thank you for your time. Thank you for taking us in and explaining your processes to us. We are with you in spirit. We think about you. We pray for you. And you could just see the impact and how much these people really take to heart what AGCI is doing for them. So one of the things that I really loved about AGCI is that they really go into Colombia and start at the bottom, from the ground up, and they're supporting the people who are on the ground, the Colombian people who are on the ground trying to change the system and trying to fix a broken system. And so AGCI is doing amazing work. Gabriel, thank you for everything that you did with us. And it was so great. They're doing amazing work there. If we go on more trips, I highly encourage you all to join in, sign up, and go, because it's these things that you need to see firsthand. So you'll see in the video, we saw so many heartbreaking things, but one of the ones that really just touched me, I have a little toddler boy at home, and we went to an institution where it was all boys, and honestly, it was when we walked into one of the rooms and we saw a bunch of trucks, and I just lost it, thinking about my son and seeing these little boys who are honestly, they're content. They talked about their community, they talked about their like brothers, but that's all they know. So they got dealt a hand that I didn't get dealt, and so to see that, and that my son didn't get dealt, so to see that was really heartbreaking, and you'll see more of that on the video. But the last thing I want to touch on is the dream home. these 24 women that are in the house, the dream home, are amazing. They're world changers. They're so great. And the one thing that really stuck out to me when talking with them is they're all going to university so that they can give back to the system that they came through. They're no longer adoptable. That's not on the table for them anymore. So they're going to university to change a broken system for the next generations that are going to come through it. And that to me, as a woman and as a woman of color, is just super inspiring. They're doing amazing things there, so we want to just keep supporting them in every way that we can to really see them succeed so that they can give back to their country.
Thank you so much for going and sharing today and all of it. Appreciate it. It was so fun. Kathy also went on this trip, as you can tell. Great transition. You just come to me for those, you know. You actually went with a really open mind and heart on this trip and didn't know what to expect. And Kathy was unique because the last time that we were on the last time that we came back and shared with you all, Kathy and her family fully sponsored one of the girls. So naturally, she's curious and wanted to kind of go to the dream home and see what was up and see where her money was going and do all this discovery. But would you just take a minute and kind of just share a little bit about why you wanted to see it for yourself and just what your experience was like?
Yes.
Thank you.
So last year when the Colombia team came back and they were telling us about the dream home, it really resonated with me because I was hearing these stories about these amazing women who were trying to go to college and just didn't have the support structure. And I have 2 girls at home, and I was thinking, well, that's just crazy. You know, I want them to have what my girls have. And so I was on board pretty quickly. So when Marisa asked, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go see what this is all about. I've been at Rain City for a little while now, and I've heard about AGCI for a while now. And I've been on board. You know, we support Tatiana in Colombia. We support another girl in Ethiopia. So I've been on board, but there was a part of me that for a while that I was just, as I was hearing about AGCI, going, is this just a Jesse and Marisa agenda? You know, are we just doing this because, you know, that's what they want to do? Or is this the church agenda? You know, and sometimes in my brain, because of what I've been through, that's not necessarily a good thing. So I really wanted to go and get more information. By nature, I'm a person who is I question. I'm a researcher. I'm an information gatherer. So I was on board to just kind of just to learn more. So the second day, we went to the dream home. Like we've mentioned, my family supports Tatiana there, and I woke up that morning. I didn't know. We never knew what we were doing. It was just we showed up, and I woke up and we were going there first. Like I freaked out inside. I was so nervous. Like they were trying to get me to talk that morning. I'm like, yeah, not gonna talk right now. I was really nervous. So we went there. And I didn't know if I was going to meet her. I didn't want to put expectations on her that she had to meet me. But of course, we get there, and I see her right away. And then I'm like freaking out even more. I was so nervous and awkward. So when I finally got over my awkwardness and decided to go introduce myself, it was really cool. When she found out who I was, she held me, like she grabbed me and held me and gave me this hug that really just set me back. If you're a parent, if you are an aunt, uncle, grandma, if you have any kids that you work with in your life, you have probably received a hug like this at some point. It's a hug that when they've had a bad day that they give you. It's a hug that maybe they had a bad dream or they're going through a rough time. It's literally the hug that says, I need you. And that was so powerful to me. And that day literally was life-changing for me because I realized that caring for orphans doesn't have to mean that you bring them into your house. And for so many years, I had been putting a lot of pressure on myself and a lot of guilt on myself because Mike and I have talked, should we adopt? And we've talked about it for years, and I just never felt called to do that, and I felt horrible because I wanted to help these kids, and it was important to me, but I felt that I wasn't doing a good enough job. And that day I realized that I am an adoptive mom, that my kid just happens to live in Colombia, where she gets to affect change where she lives, and that is so powerful in its own right. And so it was just total a life-changing moment for me. So I learned a lot of things. But one thing that was so in my face is that God moves and is moving through our generosity. That it's not just throwing money over the ocean, over the pond, however you want to say it, and throwing money at a situation to provide those material needs. Although that is extremely important, God is moving through generosity and providing love for these girls. That they get to feel love, that Tatiana now has love from a family that she has never had her entire life. That God is moving in by providing hope too. Like, these girls all have these amazing dreams of what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And that maybe now they can actually dream and know that it's possible. And it was amazing. The spectrum of generosity is big. It can be small to big, and that's, it looks different for everybody. And I just saw that, and I saw that, these girls are the face of change, but through our generosity that we are too.
Thank you. You good. Yeah. So I love what Kathy said. She said it on the trip too, that we have an agenda. And I kind of laughed in that moment because we really do have an agenda. She wasn't wrong at all, which cracks me up. But this agenda is a little different, really, because we believe that we're building into God's kingdom with this. And it's no wonder that the Bible calls this kind of work true religion, because you get so much more out of it than, just going to church on a Sunday morning, which is huge, but there's something powerful that happens when you serve other people. We were also so lucky this trip to bring our Rain City videographer, Scott, with us, who's down there. And he did an incredible job. Like we kind of mentioned, we cannot actually take our video cameras or cameras at all into a lot of these institutions and government organizations. So it's really hard to tell a story when you can't show photos, we learned. You have to use your words. So Scott did an amazing job just kind of putting our story together with what we could actually use, and I really appreciate it, Scott. So despite the fact that we aren't allowed to take video footage, we just really wanted to be able to give you kind of an accurate look into what the team experience looks like when we go on these trips. So I hope that it captures it, and we're going to, as a team, just step off the stage here for a few minutes.
And when I left Tatiana, I told her I loved her, and I gave her a hug, and she just told me, she's like, I now have a family. And she does.
I would say my prayer is that throughout our whole time there, and then when we get home, that we would do justice to their story.
I'm gonna get emotional. I just, I think about my own child and the amount of love and support that he has, and to think of even one child that doesn't have that can't look back and say, I had that in my life, is just heartbreaking.
Kind of have to prepare yourself that what you see might not be that great, and you might be really hurt and really sad and really almost damaged from what you see and realize that the world is not perfect.
So we sat with a group of social workers and psychologists and just teams of people that are so passionate about fixing a broken system. We just learned so much about what's wrong, and we spent more time though on all the work that they're doing, and it's incredible. I mean, it's sorry, Scott. Oh gosh.
And what did you see there?
A lot of just boys who are content and happy with what they have, and they don't know anything other than what they have, and that was so eye-opening and heartbreaking at the same time. I just want to like sell everything and just give them all the money and just give them everything.
And I was like looking towards the orphanage still, and it's all like barred up, like all the windows are barred up. And this one kid who we were all talking to just like kind of ran up to the window and was like holding on to it. Like when we were in there, like it didn't really seem like they were trapped like at all, but like when you see like a kid like holding on to like bars, like that's just like, I don't know, it was like hard.
The amount of love and care that people that work in these homes want to give, everyone's doing the best they can, and yet it's challenging. It's going to be challenging for everyone.
We started our day off going to the dream house.
And who did you meet?
I met my Tatiana.
So Kathy sponsors Tatiana, and we didn't think, when we found out like only a few of the girls would be here, we thought, oh, we probably won't get to meet her. And then Kathy said, Marisa, this is my girl. This is Tatiana. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Some of these girls are in school to become lawyers, to become nutritionists, and to become these amazing people. They are the image of hope and the image of strength.
Right now I'm thinking about like my past, and I really want to cut that cycle that we have in our lives. I don't want to see that how it can affect my future, and I am really working hard to change that cycle.
My name is Laura. I want to specialize in family law, so my hobby is to be a family judge.
I am to study electronics engineering.
Quiero terminar la carrera de economía y empezar a estudiar negocios internacionales.
We are really happy to live here. That is a really big opportunity for us, like to grow up and to have those opportunities that God and all of you are giving us.
I am very happy.
Yeah, this is our dream.
It's awesome to see that these girls have the opportunity to have careers in their lives and break down that cycle that is guiding them to the poverty or very difficult situations in their lives.
So I work a lot with the youth girls, my middle school girls. I tell them all the time how much I love them, and sometimes they just kind of laugh, but I really mean it. And so when we went into the dream home and we went into Los Pasingos, I just saw their faces everywhere and just kind of wondered, like, what if those were my girls?
And all I could think is that they should change their dialogue in their head. That they don't need to say, I want to make a change. They already are. They already are making that change by waking up every morning and making these decisions. And when I left Tatiana, I told her I loved her and I gave her a hug, and she just told me, she's like, I now have a family. And she does. And My family is committed to her as she's one of ours.
We hope you enjoyed this message. For more information and resources, go to RainCityChurch.com. Thanks for listening.